next 2.5 years, we have to visit, or it is my plan, my goal to visit all of the churches in the city of Chicago. Sometimes they say it's not how many people you shoot, but who you shoot, right?
That's right.
So we per chance, we may not deal with every individual, but I think if we deal with those preachers and tell those preachers who have some control over black people in the black community, that if they really truly do love their congregation, their flock, and or their father, that they really truly do love the women and the children that comes to their meeting places in our churches every Sunday, if you will, without fail, give their time, their effort, their emotional, spiritual, and financial support, then you owe them, if nothing else, to make certain that you are telling them the truth. You owe them. I believe you owe them the fact that we're like us. Here we are, we're in the Lost Foundation of Islam. We have approximately 2.5 years before we exit the United States of America. Some have already begun leaving the United States of America. So I believe I have a responsibility of presenting to you a solid base, foundation, case, and or facts, if you will, to help you make your mind up. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I tell you to pick up and leave the United States of America, and I can't prove why you should pick up. I can't justify my statement. All I can do is say, well, leave because I'm leaving and I was told to leave. No, we should be able to justify something. So likewise, it is with the preacher. The preacher's telling on a regular basis the people that it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. From time to time, again, I watch Bill Winston or T.D. Jakes. I can't think of this other Caucasian guy who has a mega church. I can't think of his name, but he always has a good message. You ever notice that? 99% of the time, the preacher has a good message. And it's a feel-good message. And God is about to do a mysterious work, and you're about to have a breakout year, and you got to claim that lesson. It's always something good. Is that right? So, what I'm here to do is to show that there isn't necessarily going to be a breakout year like many believe it to be a breakout year. And that the message isn't necessarily good depending on who you are and where you stand. I heard a preacher the other day teach that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Right? And he was a white preacher. And as he was preaching the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, and he went on down and talking about, you're going to come out of all of your foreclosure debt. You're going to come. I said, that's not what that means. He took the information and he put a spin or a twist on it to where it was pertaining to everybody. That's not true. So when I heard him, I thought about what I said about the other preacher. All else are robbers and thieves. So I'm glad that you did decide to come to Muhammad's Mosque. By the time that we are finished, I would hope to have presented to you at least a case where you could ponder, if you will, what is it that you are going to do for the next 2.5 years in the United States of America. Now, mind you, if I were a person who was over a congregation and or had a flock, I would do my due diligence to research, check, find out, make certain that I'm telling these people the truth. That I've researched every angle, every side of the story, and that this information that I'm presenting to you is factual, unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt. It is truth, and it will lead to your salvation. One of the questions that my sister-in-law would put to my brother is, let's say, because she's of the Christian persuasion, let's say I do come to the mosque. Let's say I do accept the information. Let's say I become a Muslim. What if I do that and you're wrong? First off, I will say, is that not a good question? That's an excellent question. And I guess the short answer would be, what if we were? That's the short answer. Now, once she builds up the courage to come and sit down in the seats, and or perchance, I may end up going by their homes and sit down and giving them information to help them make their mind. But at any rate, once the information is given to her, then she has to take it for herself, along with the other family members, and thoroughly examine the information and see if I'm telling you the truth and or if I'm telling you a lie. I promise you, not only will I not stand here and lie to you, but I'm not going to lie to you, period. I wouldn't bring my wife or my kids into a place where I felt that they were in harm's way, they were in danger. I would subscribe to a religious doctrine and or a nation if I had a choice that I felt would harm myself, my wife, my children, and black people, period. So the information that I am giving to you is out of love, care, and concern. Yes, sir. It is well documented. 95% of it has transpired already. So all we'll be doing really is just having a history lesson from a Muslim perspective, as opposed to having a history lesson from a Christian and or Caucasian perspective. Right?
Yes, sir.
Because two people can tell the same story, and depending on what's the aims, goal, and or purposes, and the crowd that that person is trying to please, the story may come out totally different. If you let the Tea Party tell the history of the United States of America, it's glorious. It's just all the Thomas Jeffersons and the Patrick Henrys. The only regret that I got is I only got one life to give for my country. And the Honest Abe, when he cut down the apple tree and he couldn't tell a lie. You know what I mean? And the give me victory or give me death speeches and Paul Revere, the British are coming. You know the stuff that they tell us in school, right? The items that they choose to mention while we were, I believe the first time I heard it was around 4th or 5th grade. It's the first time that I received that information about Paul Revere and Honest Abe, and it really didn't stick with me then because I could intimately connect to that. You got, even though they were telling me the history and some of the history teachers and or English professors, they would just, oh my goodness, oh, the Gettysburg Address. I had this one professor who would tell me about the Gettysburg Address. He was just in awe. And see, the thing that makes this speech so profound is the fact that I believe it was Lincoln who did the Gettysburg Address.
Yes, sir.
So some of you all don't even remember, right? So, but that one kind of sort of stands out in my mind because the professor made such a big deal. So if he tells America's history, he paints a heroic picture of men who overcame what would appear to be insurmountable odds, right? At the same time that they were fighting against the Queen, they had kidnapped black people who were a problem. You're just as much of a problem today as you were yesterday because we are hard-headed people, right? And so trying to keep us on the grips and keep us to the point to where we would not become so violent to where we would destroy their revolt. At the same time, there were still Indians who were lingering around there about that they had taken the land from, who were disgruntled, and who didn't want to see America come into fruition. And at the same time, there was Great Britain, who was trying their best to destroy, if you will, any hopes and or wishes of the United States of America being born. So it would appear to be that they were up against insurmountable odds. Because they say all wise generals say you only fight on one battle. Is that right? That you don't fight on 2 or 3 battlefronts and, separate and weaken your forces. So, at any rate, if they tell America's history, it'll sound pretty good. Now, what about the Indians told America's history? What would it sound like? What would it sound like? Treachery. Just mass murder. Just slaughtered us for no reason. Out of order, not only with the affairs of human beings, not only not having mercy for women and children, but also not having mercy for the animal kingdom. Also not having, because they just about slaughtered the buffalo. Also not having mercy for Mother Nature, the way they came in and decided to chop trees down and, just, the Indians told it would sound completely different, right?
Yes, sir.
What about if we told? I'm talking America's history. I'm talking about our sojourn since we've been in America. Again, it would sound different with
Yes, sir.
breaking up families, raping men and women, using men and women for their business and for their pleasure, working you, in some cases, 18 hours a day, depending on where you at and how much sunlight you receive in that particular state, because in some states it's daylight a little bit longer than it is in other states. So some of us, you can have that, all of us work 12 hours at least, but some of us work 18 hours. Some of us work to death. Some of us, as they say, just lost the will to live. And that's a heck of a thing, isn't it? When you put a person to a point to where they just lose their will to live. Again, what I'm saying is factual. It can be easily proven. This is just a history lesson.
Yes, sir.
But instead of coming from a Caucasian perspective and or a quote-unquote American perspective, it's coming from a Lost Foundation of Islam Muslim perspective. So we'll both tell the same stories. Some of it they'll forget to mention. They will have what one of my business partners like to call selective amnesia. That means you remember what you want to remember, and you forget what you want to forget.
Yes, sir.
So they'll have selective amnesia. At any rate, my job is to get the information to you so that you can make an informed decision. There was 2 things on my mind. At first, I thought about this lecture called "The Clouds Are Gathering." I want to say ever since Monday, and I was thinking about it, working on it, putting it together right up until 20 minutes ago. Now, there was some events that transpired on Friday and or Saturday. When those events transpired on Friday and or Saturday, it put my mind in a different mode, a different gear, to where I thought that I would teach on nation building and what it takes to build a nation, the kind of resolve and dedication you have to build a nation. So as I pondered over that, I figured that I'll save that for another time, and I will go forward with my initial plans to give you the information that I believe is pertinent right now to the entire so-called Negro race in the United States of America. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jehovah's Witness, whether you're an Orthodox Muslim, whatever religious persuasion you are, and or if you have no religion, this information you need. And this information, if you have, then my question is, what are you waiting for? Again, I'm still in the United States of America because I believe that there is a chance to save a soul or two. And I really hope that it's not just a soul or two. I hope that soul or two turns into 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 144,000. Some people may say, how you going to get 144,000 in 2.5 years? Well, I used to go to church too, and I too am looking for a miracle. I too am expecting the impossible. You remember that song in church? I'm looking for a miracle. I'm expecting the impossible. And that was not my mindset, that I am looking for a miracle and or expecting the impossible.